Hey yogis, welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Katie and I'm here to take you through a tutorial for Crow Pose. Crow Pose is a lovely place to start on your journey into inversions and arm balances. I'm going to give you a few tips and tricks of how to prepare the body and then invite you into your journey to take flight. So the first thing we're going to do is prepare the wrists. I'd like you to come into tabletop pose. Tabletop pose is all fours, hands under shoulders, knees under hips. And nice and simply, we're just going to make some circles with the shoulders. So fingers facing forward, and then just start to draw circles a little bit bigger than the wrists with the shoulders. And once you've gone in one direction, take it in the other. From here, we're going to send the fingers out in opposite directions. And then very simply, start to rock the weight side to side. If you want to intensify this, then you're going to move the wrists closer to one another. And it just makes it a little bit stronger. From there, we're going to turn the fingers to face the knees. Now, if you're new to the practice and this feels quite strong, then you're going to shuffle the knees a little bit closer to the fingers and you can just sit down and play with just rocking the weight forward and back. If that's not giving you the stretch that you want, then you're going to return the knees back to the tabletop position and then begin to shift the weight further backwards. But yogis, be mindful, we want to keep the palms connected to the mat at all times, otherwise the intention of the stretch is no longer there. Once you've done that a few times, you can just decompress the wrists by giving them a little bit of a shake out. So then we're going to work into the shoulders. We're going to start to bring awareness to the shape that we want to make into the shoulders and also into the belly for when we're ready to take flight. Come back into tabletop. Begin with a cow pose. So as you inhale, soften into the belly, lift the tailbone and lift the gaze. And then as you exhale, and this is the part that we focus on, we come into cat. You're going to lengthen the tailbone down, pull the belly button back towards the spine, and round through the shoulders, tucking the chin in towards the chest. So this doming action of the shoulders is called protraction. And when we press the ground away and protract the shoulders quite strongly, we start to feel this hollow sensation in the front of the chest. That is exactly what we're looking for. We're going to take another one. Inhale, come into your cow pose. Tailbone lifts, gaze lifts. Exhale, rounding through to cat. We're going to make it a little bit stronger this time. Once you come into your cat, start to press the heels of the hands and the knees away in opposite directions. They're not going to move, hopefully, but it will encourage you to start noticing activation through the belly a little bit stronger, and also through the serratus anterior, which are muscles that sit around the ribs either side of the torso, which is stabilizing muscles for when you start balancing on your hands and taking arm balances and inversions. So have a little play with that, start to get used to it. It's quite strong, and that's okay. The next thing is to work into the adductors, the muscles on the inner seams of the legs that are responsible for drawing the legs back to the midline. So we're going to come into lizard, and you can come into this through downward facing dog or your tabletop. I'm going to come in from tabletop. You're very simply going to step the right foot forward and land it around the outer edge of the right hand. You can then shuffle that left leg back so you can get a nice stretch through the front of the left hip flexor. And then from here, we're going to squeeze that right knee back towards the outer edge of the right arm. It should feel really super compact, super compressed, and you may start to dome through the shoulders slightly, feel the belly draw back in towards the back of the spine, and breathe. And then release. So you might do that a couple of times on each leg. Please don't forget to do the left leg. And then we'll send it back. So just before we come into crow pose, there's one last thing that I want to offer you, and that is a reclined crow pose. So we start to understand what the feeling of crow pose feels like without any of the scariness of balancing on the hands. So come onto the back of the body. We're going to activate the lower belly and the hip flexors to squeeze the knees in towards the chest. The knees are going to come a little bit wider than normal. So the knees aren't touching, they're coming towards the shoulders. And then we're going to take the arms up towards the sky. The palms pressing towards the ceiling. You're going to squeeze into the lower belly again and see if you can draw the knees to the backs of the triceps. Now dome through the shoulders again. Press the hands a little bit higher. And you see this is quite active. We know that the shoulders are protracting because they've risen away from the ground. And we know that the belly is engaged because we can feel it. Now, this is quite strong. Have a play, see how you feel, hold it for a few breaths, release, have another go. And then when you're ready, we will take flight. So to come into your crow pose, we're going to start very kind of loosely in a forward fold. So feet are going to be at hip width distance, big generous bend into the knees. Hands are going to come down to the mat. Hands are at shoulder width distance. You want the hands and the feet in line. Fingers spread nice and wide, and then this is a little trick. I want you to draw the fingertips back towards the hands so that the middle knuckles start to lift away from the ground. And then you're going to press the soft knuckles on the underside of the palm back into the ground. And you'll notice you've got lots of movement through the fingers, and this is going to help you shift and distribute the weight evenly as you start to fly. First things first, plant the hands, prep your fingers, take the gaze 2 feet ahead of you. So it's not down, it's forward. We're going to come right up onto the toes so that we can bend more deeply into the elbows. And then we shift the knees to the backs of the triceps. Try and keep the hips nice and high. Your first stop is just to play with shifting the weight forward and back. Forward and back. And you may start to get to a point where when you shift the weight forward enough, you feel like one foot could just float off the ground. And then when you've had fun with floating one foot, you'll take it onto the other side. So other foot floats. Beautiful. Nice. When you feel comfortable with that, we'll come into the full pose. Hands down towards the mat, fingertips prepped. Checking the gaze is forward. Shift the weight into the toes, knees to the backs of the triceps, hips stay high. Shift the weight forward, 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 and then pull one foot off the mat, and then the other. Squeeze the legs back towards the midline. Round through the shoulders, dome through the shoulders, pull the belly in, press the ground away. We're here for 3, for 2, and for 1. Release it down, come into a comfortable place, release the wrists. A little bit of a shake out to decompress. And there you have it, your crow pose. Have a go, see how it goes, and let me know what you think. Good luck!